Welcome to the rest of my life. I'm Lance Ash, and with me today is my wife Bonnie.
Hello, I am the long-suffering one.
We're doing the show at home because our internet is out, most likely because the modem's bad. So, our addiction to being online has really been proven by this situation. So I have nothing to do to kill the time before I leave. So I thought, might as well go ahead and do the show.
As to when you actually get to upload it, that's another story.
Yeah, well, we can go ahead and make the video. I'll post it after the thing gets fixed. So anyway, I thought I'd go ahead and start the show like I always do with what I will be listening to in the car. This is what I've got in the bag tonight. Alright, hold on, let me get this shit out. Hold on. Alright.
You don't normally do this while you're driving, right?
Oh, yeah.
Uh-huh.
Alright, I've got...
And playing with CDs.
Yeah, I gotta get used to moving the microphone over to you. Yeah. Okay. Motorhead, Overkill. Ron Wood's album, Slide on This. Rod Stewart's first record. Firehose Anthology Disc 2. Firehose Anthology Disc 1. Firehose album, Mr. Machinery Operator. Sam Rivers, Fuchsia Swing Song. Tchaikovsky's 4th and 5th... No, I'm sorry. Tchaikovsky's 5th and 6th on one disc. And this is a homemade CD copied off 2 different LPs. Prokofiev's Lieutenant Kijé Suite, Kodali, Prokofiev Suite for Love for 3 Oranges, and Scythian Suite. All right.
Wait a minute, was that in that Joyce Carey movie?
Yeah, Lieutenant Kijé Suite is the basis of the main theme for The Horse's Mouth with Alec Guinness.
Okay, all right. Yeah, I thought I recognized that.
So, like I said, for, I don't know, a month or two now, in my studio, my little laptop, the internet seems to basically cut out in the middle of the night, sometime around 1. This has been going on. Well, last night, I thought, well, maybe if I move the laptop closer to the modem, it'll get the signal, I can get going. So I took the laptop into where the main computer is, and the main computer wasn't getting any internet connection either. So basically, Bonnie ruled out everything except the modem. So it's probably the modem, and we're going to try to get a new modem this week. And we called our internet service provider, and they said, well, the soonest we can get somebody out there to see you is November, which is ridiculous.
It's the beginning of September right now.
Yeah.
But they said, we'll try to get somebody out there Friday instead. I said, Friday? Wait a minute, today's Sunday. I mean, this upcoming Friday. Okay.
I mean, what do they have, 2 people covering a 3-county area?
County? No, I'm probably going to go with a couple states at this point.
Really?
Yeah, we're relocated in Georgia. It would probably be northeast Georgia, tip of Tennessee, tip of North Carolina, and tip of South Carolina. It's a small company, but they handle rural service, and they just kind of send them out from... I don't even know where the location is anymore. It used to be about 30 miles from here, but that place closed.
You know, on my way to work, that business that's on the left as you pass out of Clark County, or out of, I guess you're already out of Clark County at that point, it's called Cox Media.
What? Cox Media is out there?
Yeah.
They're the ones that have the Athens Banner Herald and all that crap, aren't they?
Well, I don't know. I thought that was Newspaper Incorporated or something. Anyway, I just wondered what they did. Because I thought they used to do, like...
Fox Media, I think, does a couple of radio stations and a couple of newspapers.
I thought they did cable.
Hard for us to check because, the internet's down.
Yeah, it's irritating.
Yeah, we wanted to know if this was a spider bite on my ankle, and what time Goodwill closed because I had a donation to drop off. We've needed a couple things. Oh, I was going to do a recipe, but then I had to change the recipe because I don't have it offline. It's only online.
Also, can't check the weather. Speaking of which,
Yeah.
supposed to go up on the roof and lay down some tar, but it rained, and
Rain.
I thought, this is a good excuse to give in to my laziness and not do it. Plus, my shoulder was a little bit messed up, so.
And it rained, and it rained, and it rained, and it
I
rained.
never, it apparently rained while I was asleep because I never actually saw it.
But
But anyway, you know what? I had some topics. I can't think what they are now.
thanks.
Hold on a second. Bonnie's worried about this spot on her ankle. I rubbed her feet earlier and I saw something, but I wouldn't worry about it. All right, my topics here. What does this say? One of them is going back to Athens, ? And bus drivers over train tracks. I know what that is. Bus driver. Okay, first of all, we've got some tantalizing hints that maybe the situation is turning, and maybe I could get to go back to Athens if all the stars are aligned. So, what do you have to say about that?
Not going to happen. Nothing ever good happens with
Bonnie is a real believer in jinxes.
Yes, I am.
If you say something, then it won't come true.
I pride myself in being reasonable and rational, but then stupid shit like this happens, and I go, okay, don't talk anything about it. You're gonna jinx it. This is why you can't indoctrinate your kids in bullshit beliefs early on, because it's hard to break away from those.
Yeah,
But
I agree.
honestly, I have worked. I have lived with you long enough and heard enough crap about the people you work with to know they're not going to do a damn thing to get this whole thing off the ground, to get you back there. Now, mind you, the National Union has told them, you're supposed to go to the new facility that's been changed in its designation, observe, and if you can get 4 hours of work that needs to be done, then we can send a person back. What you want to bet? 1, they'll go before the full transition, so they won't see the full amount of work. And B, they may not even go at all.
Yeah, the local union that is in my building doesn't seem to be interested in.
They're lazy as fuck.
Yeah. All right.
Oh, tell them about how your union back here was different from the union up there with regard to greed.
What are you talking about?
Every year here in Athens.
Oh. At the Athens facility, the union, for Christmas time, they'd pass out gift cards. We haven't gotten any gift cards at the facility I work at now, but we have gotten cheaply made swag printed with the union logo on it. Several months ago, somebody told me, what size jacket do you take? I'm like, well, large probably. And they handed me this
Plastic.
piece of shit. And the woman goes, now we want to see you wear it. I'm not wearing that anywhere.
It's a piece of plastic. It's about as thin as a grocery bag that you get at Walmart.
I might use it to, cover the lawnmower outside,
last.
and that's about it.
It won't last.
All right. Anyway, the other topic. I didn't have many thoughts on topics this week, but the other topic I had. All right. Like I've said many times before, I went to this nutball Christian school, and a lot of the teachers they hired were also preachers in local crazy churches. And we had this one guy who was sort of like he was a preacher at some local church, and but he didn't teach anything regularly. He sort of subbed, and he also drove the bus once in a while. And the thing that, let me go ahead and, before I tell you the story, the anecdote, let me describe his character. He was a morbidly obese, arrogant bastard. He poked his lips out like an orangutan with this arrogant scowl on his face, and he was convinced that every child was up to mischief, that he was on to them, and he knew more, and all he had to do was shake his head with his slow ways. Now, let me give you an approximation of the way he talked. When he was preaching, he would talk like this. Now, children, you're just little trees, little saplings in the greenhouse. And if the tree leaves the greenhouse too early, you might die in the winter cold. So don't leave the greenhouse, children. Okay.
Wait a minute. Time to name and shame.
Okay.
Name and shame the guy.
I can't say that. This is YouTube. I could get sued if hold on. I'll pause it and tell Bonnie what the guy's name is. All right. So anyway. Okay. Now, I wrote a poem about him one time. We had a study hall one time, and he was like the substitute teacher who was to sit in the room and make sure we didn't goof off. And he was sitting at the desk up front, and he was poking his lips out and making these faces and all self-satisfied and smug that he was in charge of 20 children. And I wrote a poem about him sitting there just like he knew everything. Anyway, okay, so one day he was the substitute bus driver for our regular bus driver. And he's driving us home. And there's a point in the bus route where he had to go over these railroad tracks. And the gates are coming, the lights are flashing and the bells are ringing and the gates are coming down indicating a train is coming, okay? But he decided to gun it so he could beat the train. And he's going over the tracks, and the gate came down on the top of the bus and scraped along the top of the bus until it dropped off the back, and all the kids are screaming. And then the train came flying through after we got off the tracks. I wish he'd killed all of us. I really do. Oh my God.
You mean I could be married to somebody else now?
Oh, what a horrible fate that would be for you. Good thing I didn't die. Oh my God. We watched this part of this BBC documentary today on the Rolling Stones. Each episode focuses on a different member, and the first one's about Mick, and Bonnie's like, "Oh, I know how much you wish you could have been Mick," and I'm like, "Well, I got to be something better. I got to be Lance, so I have no problem with that." She just doesn't buy that. I'm me. He wouldn't exist if I wasn't here to observe him. I firmly believe in that philosophy. All right. Anyway, so tell them about our daughter's adventure.
Which one?
Well, our daughter moved out a couple months ago to her brand new apartment, the best apartment she's lived in, and it's close to downtown. And Saturday was the first home game for the university. And
that means you cannot go out in traffic. It's a fucking nightmare from the get-go. And they've got all kinds of lots closed off because they're selling parking spaces and traffic is crazy. And so she's within walking distance of downtown. And for the morning, she walked around the corner and went to a bagel shop. Had her first ever lox and bagels. Yeah, I know, we failed as vegetarian parents. Really enjoyed it. It had pickled onion, which she thoroughly enjoyed. She said, ugh. And coffee. And then she went back home. And then at lunch, she ventured out into the insane mass of red and black clad folks pouring through downtown. and she went to Little Italy Pizza Shop and got herself a slice or two and something to drink. And she said it was loud and packed, and she absolutely loved it. So she got a couple of miles walking in that day, and after the pizza place, she walked over to the main square, College Avenue, across from the arch, and got herself a waffle cone ice cream. Anyway, so she gets to do things that we'd hoped she'd been doing 4 or 5 years ago when she was in college, but she wasn't living that closely then. But now that she's got a place that's less than a mile from downtown, hey, this is great.
Well, I'm very proud of her because I always wanted to. Well, I mean, I did live on my own for a while. Oh, hold on. It's taking my pills time. Hold on. Okay. Every day at 6 p.m. I take a dose of pills, and every day at 6 a.m. I take a dose of pills.
Why do you take a dose of pills each day, Lance?
Well, a lot of them is anti-seizure, but there's also replacement Cortef, there's replacement thyroid medication, there's baby aspirin, calcium, vitamin D, multivitamin, anything else?
I don't know, between the complete hormone replacement.
Yeah, every Friday I get testosterone shots.
Yeah.
Also,
medicines and seizure medicine. And
well, every day that I'm going to lift weights, I take ibuprofen ahead of time. And I really
more often. Why, Lance? Why have you been taking more pain pills?
Oh, are you suggesting I'm getting older?
Older, yes, and they're working you to death, and you're letting them work you to death.
I really messed up my right shoulder blade a couple of days ago, and lifting weights didn't help. So I only did 5 circuits of weights tonight instead of 7.
Put some pain patches on you tonight before you go in?
Maybe.
Ooh, drugs.
Those menthol pain patches, I was dubious. You know, you get them at the dollar store, but they really work. And I'll tell you something.
Menthol and aspirin, basically.
Yeah, I think yeah. But
acetylsalicylic acid.
A couple of years ago, we have fire ants around here, and I get bitten by a fire ant, and I thought, well, I'll try the pain patch. They work on fire ant bites. So a couple of weeks after that, I got stung by a wasp, I think on my toe.
You?
And I thought, yeah, because it was a wasp that was laying here in the doorway, and I was seeing you guys out one day.
And you stepped on it.
And I stepped on it, and it stung me, and I thought, well, it worked on an ant bite. Let's try it on the wasp sting, and it didn't take the pain away completely, but it took it away a lot.
Huh.
I couldn't believe it. So that's something to remember. Are those Salonpas things the same thing?
What is Salonpas?
It's a pain patch thing that they're marketing,
I
and
have no idea what that is.
it's probably the exact same thing for 8 times more money.
I don't know. Some of them have lidocaine in them, and I had them the other week, and I didn't know. They didn't do shit for me.
Really? That cushion is scratchy. Must be wool.
Hi, it is.
Lenny Bruce had a grandmother whose joke was, they were so tough they wore a wool suit with no underwear.
Oh. And hair shirts.
What is a hair shirt?
It is, I assume, made out of hair, but it was something that was supposed to be extremely scratchy and cause problems and itchiness.
I think it was full of lice too, or something.
Well, it would be because they wouldn't change their clothes; they would wear it continuously. And when the Muslims would come across the Christian crusaders, they were repulsed by how unclean they were. They didn't do basic ablutions every day.
Yeah. Well, let's see. What happened this weekend? Didn't get the grass cut because of the rain. Didn't get the roof tarred because of the rain.
It has rained and rained and rained and rained.
I did shore up the mailbox a little bit earlier, and I went out there to see what else I could do, but I couldn't do anything. I thought I'd have to pack the earth around it, but that wasn't the problem. Got a little bit of painting done.
I remember when my dad retired, he was leaving his house in the Atlanta area, and he retired. And I said, "So you're ready to move?" He goes, "No. First, I have to fix up the house." I said, "You do?" He goes, "Yeah, we've been living here a little less than 15 years, and during that time, I haven't had time to do anything. Now I have to retire in order to have time to fix up the place." I understand what he's talking about. You know?
Are you talking about he tried to fix up the place before he moved out of it?
Yeah, he needed to. Something had happened to the door seal, the glass door, and so the rain had gotten in, and he had a wood door, and it had rotted the bottom of the door, and he'd not realized it because they always went in through the garage, and their guests always come in through the garage. And then there was some siding issues because it was basically 3 stories up because they had a daylight basement, the first floor, the second floor, and then the roof pitch.
I didn't like that house. Compared, the place they're living in now is just wonderful. That the other house they had was just cookie cutter.
Though they bought it for convenience, a swim and tennis community, one of those planned neighborhoods where you didn't have to do anything except for your own yard work if you chose to.
The house they live in now is custom made dream house. It's exactly what they want for their needs, and it's
That's the funny thing.
perfect.
His sister has that exact same house. She designed the house for herself. And he would spend so much time with her a couple times a year, they fell in love with her house. And so he asked Susan for the plans. So his house is exactly like my Aunt Susan's house.
That reminds me, several years ago, we went over to visit when the kids were still in school, and Reed went for a walk all by herself through the little,
18 acres.
Yeah, and we saw her in the distance, and I was like, I got that same feeling that I got when Reed couldn't even talk yet, but she could walk, and it was a cold day, and she and I went down to visit my dad at next door, and she sat down on the front steps of their house, and my dad and I were talking maybe 30 feet away, and we looked back at her, and she's sitting there looking at something with her hands folded in her lap.
She's in her own little
And I thought, she's her own little individual. And when Reed went for the walk, she's walking away from us, and I was like, it's just so bizarre that you have this child, and you realize that they're their own person.
Yeah.
Their own...
And it happens so early. It really does. They develop their own personality, their own ideas, their own secret inner life. My granny used to tell stories about me and my imaginary world, which I have no memory of now. And I looked at Reed and Peter and saw the same thing in them, just like any child should. They should have their own little inner life.
Very strange. Okay, well, let's think of any more relevant discussions before we end the show.
No internet!
Yeah, it really shows you how addicted you have become to the internet when it goes out.
Another thing was realizing that I don't have access to information. For example, we can't call Goodwill and find out their hours for dropping off the donations. We don't have access to the neighboring counties. Used to be we had all this, but as landlines have become fewer and fewer in number, they have smaller and smaller and more localized phone books.
People today don't even know what a payphone is or was. I remember payphones were ubiquitous. I have used payphones for emergency situations before.
I know.
30 years ago.
Well,
40 years ago.
This thing on my leg. I ended up calling your sister just to verify that indeed I needed to do the Benadryl and the hydrocortisone cream. And I wanted so badly to go in and verify a picture of a spider bite and see, rule out some things.
It's not a spider bite.
It's not a spider bite. Okay.
No, it's...
I don't know what the hell it is. It keeps growing.
It's nothing.
It's going to take over.
Ow.
You okay?
I just feel itchy from
Cold.
touching that damn cushion.
Cold.
All right. Well,
So another thing that we noticed today is after it was determined that we had no internet, etc., you and I have a tendency to sit down and watch something together over breakfast. And we ended up pulling up something that we had on a drive. But I thought, there are a lot of people who are unloading their music on CD and their DVDs and putting everything on the online. And I mean, what happens if you need to access that thing through an online connection, say storing it in the cloud?
well, when I suggested we watch one of the things your dad gave us on that drive, I also thought, well, it'd be a good time maybe to pull out one of the DVDs and watch something like that, but I really don't want to commit myself to an hour and a half movie or something. Of course, we have all the Old Kids in the Hall on DVD. DVD, and
Man, I'm so disappointed in that Amazon series.
oh, let's not get into that. I thought it was okay.
Terrible.
It was okay for what it was.
Terrible.
Even the original show wasn't as great as we remember it to be. All right, well, I guess that's about it. Any final thoughts?
Bye.
Okay. Thank you very much for listening. Bye-bye.